Alright, let's talk today about congruent figures. So in this I am told triangle ABC is congruent to XYZ. So all of the angles are going to be congruent because the figures are congruent, the angles are congruent. Now when you're doing this you want to pay attention to the order because order matters. So A comes first and X comes first. So A and X are the same angle measure because they're congruent. So if A is 92 degrees, that means X has to be 92 degrees. Next we have B. We don't know B, but B corresponds to Y. Well, Y is 38 degrees, and since they're congruent, that means B has to be 38 degrees. So the last thing we need to do is find what C and Z are. Well, I know two angles, and a triangle always has to add up to 180. So I'm going to add those two angles. So 92 plus 38 would be 130. So I'm going to take that 130 and subtract it from 180 to get 50 degrees. So that means angle C and angle Z are 50 degrees. Alright, next we have triangle ABC and XYZ. It says name all the corresponding parts. So let's start with sides here. So if I start with the sides, it doesn't matter which one I start with. I'm going to start with AC is congruent to, it has two little marks here. So I look for the one with the two little marks. That would be XY. Before we get too far, let's go ahead and name the triangles because that's going to be important when we're naming the corresponding parts. So we have triangle, we just call it ABC, is congruent to triangle. Now we have to go the same direction. So I started at A, went to B, so I went along that one line. So I have to start at X and go along the line with the one mark, so Z. So X, Z, and then I went from B to C, so along the line with three marks, so I go Z to Y, so along the one with three marks. So triangle ABC is congruent to XZY. So when I name this, if I want from A to C, then I have to go from X to Y. I couldn't call it Y to X. That would be backwards. Alright, so next let's do BA is congruent to, so I went from up here to down here. So again, I started at the intersection of the 3 and the 1 lines, so, and then I went down, so I have to call that Z to X. And then the last one would be BC is congruent to ZY. The angles are a little bit easier. You just match them up. So angle A is congruent to angle X. Angle C is congruent to angle Y. And angle B is congruent to angle Z. Alright, here you're given the angle or triangle HIJ is congruent to MNO. So let's just draw two triangles. Call it HIJ. And it's okay if your triangles, aren't drawn to scale. You'll see that a lot in the drawings throughout geometry. The drawings aren't drawn to scale. So it says H is 75 degrees and N is 50 degrees. So this is just like that first one we did. We'd find the corresponding parts. So H is the same as M, so that makes it 75 degrees. I is the same as N, so that makes it 50 degrees. And then we add those up, we get 125. We subtract that from 180, and we get 55. So that means J and O are 55 degrees. And I realize I just wrote 50. Let me fix that. 55 degrees. Alright, last one we're going to do today. So it says triangle STU is congruent to triangle DEF. And then it gives us the measure of U is 5x minus 30, and the measure of F is 2x plus 15. So if you look at that, U and F are in the same position. That means they're the same angle. If they're the same angle in congruent triangles, that means they're equal to each other. So if you want to find the measure of F, we just set those two things equal to each other. So I got 5x minus 30 equals 2x plus 15. So now I start solving. Subtract 2x from both sides. I get 3x minus 30 equals 15. Add 30 to both sides. I get 3x equals 45. And then divide by 3 on both sides. I get x equals 15 degrees. Well, that's solved for x, but I haven't solved for f yet. So I need to take that 15 degrees and put it into that original equation. So I need to do 2 times 15 plus 15. So 2 times 15 is 30, plus 15 would be 45 degrees. So the measure of angle F equals 45 degrees.